Confucius once said, signs and symbols rule the world, not words or laws, and there's a reason for that. Because a symbol, like everything else, is just an information field carrying the information that it represents. Going to give you a number of examples as we go along here about this. And so, a symbol, we see it as a symbol, yeah, but that's the hologram. That's in the hologram. It's actually a vibrating information field, which enters the eyes. But it enters the eyes without fanfare. I can be looking at a symbol, I might not even know I'm looking at a symbol. I might be subconsciously looking at a symbol because it's just in my eye line and I'm not aware of it. But I'm taking in on a subconscious level that information field. But I don't know I am. Whereas, when you're getting communication to the ear, it's still a vibrating information field, what we call sound. But if it's within the audio range of the ear, you know you're receiving it, unless it's below threshold, subliminal. So the greatest way of getting information into the mind, into the brain, into the subconscious to influence perception is through the eyes, because you don't take it in. It's almost entirely subconscious. Look at that figure right at the start of the day, 11 million sensations a second, and the brain takes 40. But the subconscious takes the freaking lot, that's the point. And so symbols, the information in symbols, is a gateway to the subconscious mind, which eventually filters through to the conscious mind and starts to influence actions. And when you focus on a symbol, you are, through entrainment, syncing your energetic field with what the symbol represents. Doesn't matter if you have a misguided idea of what you think it represents. What it actually represents dictates the frequency, and therefore, when you sync with it, there will be an energetic connection through the symbol to that which it represents, because the frequencies are the same. So when you're focused on that, that's taking you into a certain low vibrational frequency. I mean, like I said, a symbol of a religion. Energy flows where attention goes. So if you can get people involved in rituals or anything that involves symbols and you put their attention on it, you are connecting them energetically, frequency-wise, to what that represents. And, you know, sportsmen will say that when there's a big crowd and they're all on their side, willing them to win, they get energy from them. Why? Because the focus of the crowd on who they want to win makes an energetic connection with the person, and they start to feed more energy from the crowd. But it goes the other way too. When massive crowds focus on the symbols of this archontic force, whether it's personification or literal symbols, they're making the energetic connection, and their energy can be trawled because there is a frequency connection. And when you have these massive, massive rituals with unbelievable numbers of people, they're trawling energy. Go to a football match with a massively powerful atmosphere, and the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Why? Because of the electromagnetic field generated by the crowd. That electromagnetic field en masse is what these people trawl. When you go to like Mecca and they're focusing on this, and we'll come to what that is shortly, what that represents is creating a frequency connection through what that represents to what that actually is. When they focus on Mecca, they're focusing on that Kaaba cube, and there are consequences energetically for that. When you have a satanic stage show and the crowd, the kids are focused on it, what it's doing is locking them into that frequency, entrainment. So there's so many ways that we are fed off in that way. And symbols is a massive way. Of course, the eye is a universal symbol of this network. There you see the eye on the necklace of the mysteries. It goes way, way back. In banking and politics, in church, in state, you see it. This is thousands of years old, found in Ecuador. And there is the eye and the 13 levels of the pyramid. And under ultraviolet light, that even shines the illuminated eye. And that's what you find on the dollar bill. It's one of the major symbols of this archontic network. And there's 13 levels, exactly as in Ecuador thousands of years ago. There it is in Freemasonry, because you'll find it in Satanism, you'll find it in Freemasonry, you'll find it in banking, you'll find it in politics, because they all ultimately are worshiping the same gods. That's MI5. There it is again, the security agencies. MI6, again, the pyramidal shape. This is a church. I think it's in Poland. And there, here we go, old twerper's back. There you go, have a twerp. Stage show, there it is, classic. And these are locking people in. There's Madonna. What's the chances of this? Katy Perry, Angelina Jolie, Lady Gaga, CBS, Jay-Z. Unbelievable. What's the chances of Chancellor Merkel doing that every time? That's bloody ludicrous. It's not even a natural thing to do. And then you look, I mean, this is unbelievable, this. Animated bloody cartoons and stuff. This pyramid and all-seeing eyes frickin' everywhere. I'm not going to go through them all because of time, but every one of the shots that you're going to see has got that in it. Look at them, all over the bloody place. And this is feeding something into the subconscious of those who watch, overwhelmingly kids. The programming starts subconsciously from the earliest age. The Olympics in 2012, the one-eyed man, the eye. Here you had the Monsters, Inc. The central character had a single eye, and the monsters were feeding off the energy of children. It was their sustenance. And then you have this is unbelievable again, the number of personalities who get photographed covering one freaking eye up in some form. I mean, look at it. And there's hundreds more. And most of them won't know. Another great symbol of this archontic network in all its forms is the flame or the lighted torch. And what the Gnostic said was that the archons are made from luminous fire, the jinn were made from smokeless fire, according to the Islamic belief, and the archon phoenix, that all comes from this archontic symbolism, the phoenix rising from the ashes in fire. And according to Freemasonic historians, the phoenix morphed in terms of symbolism into the more acceptable eagle, and that's why you have eagles on so many flags and state logos. So all this is putting information into the subconscious mind to filter through to the conscious mind. So, in plain sight, Saturn. Saturn is, I would say, after my research over the years, is fundamental to understanding how this, quote, bad copy became our fake reality and continues to be so. First of all, Saturn was widely worshipped in the ancient world. Question, why would it be when we can hardly frickin' see it, never mind what the ancients could do? Well, there's a story about why. This, as we see it today, wasn't always like it was, and in geologically very recent times, it wasn't like this. People like Immanuel Velikovsky and others have studied over the years and written books, and they've been followed up by people like the Electric Universe researchers like David Talbot and Thornhill in books more recently, as they have looked at the evidence that there was a catastrophic upheaval in the solar system in the relatively recent past, not yesterday afternoon, but the relatively recent past, which could well sync with when this bad copy fake reality was locked in. All over the world you have global destruction myths and catastrophe myths manifesting under names like Atlantis and Lemuria and Mu, but they are unbelievable in their common themes of how they describe what happens. And after this movement of planets, which was a massive disruption of the electromagnetic order, as I mentioned earlier, which meant the stability had gone, they ended up where we see them today. Now, this is a fantastic book. I almost can't get it now, and if you can, it costs a fortune. But it represents a magnificent piece of research by this man, David Talbot, one of the people involved in the electric universe information. It's called the Saturn myth. And what he did was study the worship of Saturn all over the world, studied its symbolism, studied what they said about it, studied why they said they worshiped Saturn. And what came out was this, that Saturn, once upon a time, was anywhere but where it is now, and at the time it had no rings. Come to that as we go along. Actually, it was the dominant planet, I would say star, sun, in the Earth sky. And the way they describe it, it went around in an orbit in sync with Mars and Venus as it moved around. And that was the dominant light, the dominant sun, if you like, from Earth in the Golden Age. And I say that Saturn is a dwarf star, which is not a great, amazing thing because there's so many dwarf stars out there, they say now, it's unbelievable. And what they said in the early astronomical traditions is that Saturn was the primeval sun. That's how they described it. And Plato referred to Saturn as Helios, the sun god. Not our sun that we see today, the Saturn sun, referred to as Helios. Now, we take Helios to mean our sun, because it's the sun god. I say that's a mistake. Actually, they were talking about Saturn. And Diodorus of Sicily, an ancient historian, reported that the Chaldeans in the same area, Sumer, Babylon, now Iraq, called Saturn by the name Helios and said that this was because Saturn was, quote, the most conspicuous of the planets, which fits exactly with Talbot's research across and I tell you, it's across the global cultures. The creator of modern Christianity worshipped Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun. Sol, it turns out, was another name that was used for Saturn and not the sun we think we see today. So when you start to let it kind of filter through, that at least most of the ancient sun gods were referring to the Saturn sun, not the sun we see today. That would make Heliopolis, famous city of the sun in ancient Egypt, as the city of Saturn, with the obelisks, the pillars outside the temple in Heliopolis. And that relates so closely to Solomon's temple, the mythical Solomon's temple. Every syllable of Solomon means the sun. Question now is which sun? And again, you've got the two pillars outside, just as with the one in Heliopolis. Then you come to Freemasonry, and its temples have the twin pillars worshipping the sun, the Saturn sun. Come to that as we go along. So when you go in this symbol, absolutely obsessed network, you come to the twin towers, the twin pillars. A coincidence? No chance. And what are the chances of this if that is the Saturn sun, Helios, Heliopolis? This obelisk in St. Peter's Square is an original obelisk put there from Heliopolis, I would say the city of the Saturn sun. And I've been saying for years and years and years and years that the Roman church is worshipping Saturn. The Bennu bird of Heliopolis was symbolized as Atum Ra. Both symbolized Saturn. And the Bennu bird became the phoenix, which became the eagle, as Freemasonic historians talk about. They worship Saturn as the old sun, the dark lord, and the lord of the rings. Later, Satanism is Saturnism. And it's also symbolized as a eye. Now, what Talbot concluded from reading all these accounts of what happened to Saturn was this, that during these catastrophes, this is a quote from his book, the subject of the global creation legend, the global catastrophe legend, is a spectacular cosmic event actually witnessed by the ancients. Massive quantities of cosmic debris exploded from Saturn, clouding the heavens and eventually congealing into a vast band around the planet. Now, the band is described, like he said, as around the planet. However, what is described is the reflection onto that band of the sun we have today, made it seem from Earth as if there was only part of it, like a beard. And as the day moved on and the sun's angle moved, it's described as appearing that this band went around Saturn, as I'll explain. Now, this is one of Saturn's moons, and I only put this up here because it shows this light behind it. Now, the source of this light is not the same as I'm talking about, but it just gives a feel today, looking at that angle of that Saturn moon, of what it must have looked like in the way they described from Earth. This band, this luminous band. And what they said is, as the sun moved around its angle in relation to Saturn, it appeared from Earth that this was moving around around Saturn. But that became the main symbol because that appears to be what it looked like for most of the Earth day at that time. And so you see symbols relating to that all over the ancient world, which Talbot came up with. Let's just go further forward here, I'll come to something else. There's loads of them with the band and the disk Saturn. Loads of them like this, with symbolized as the horns with the planet, the sun in the middle of it. And Lord of the Rings was a name given to Saturn. And here you see in the movie, you see the same symbol and the eye of Sauron, the reptilian eye, as the source of power. They're using it now in Apple products as well. Here you have the man who started a satanic secret society in Germany called the Brotherhood of Saturn. And these are Saturn symbols, and there you see the round circle with the dot in the middle and the horns. Now, that round circle with a dot in the middle is said today still to have been an ancient symbol of the sun. Well, there's nothing when you look at our sun to use a symbol like that to symbolize it. But you look at that symbol in relation to what Talbot's saying, and it's very obvious what it was symbolizing. You had an unbelievably Saturnesque stage show done at the Super Bowl in 2012 by Madonna with the luminous fiery eye again. And there is Saturn with the crescent between the Twin Towers in the Mother Lodge of Freemasonry in Great Queen Street in London. You look at the symbol of Islam, and it can be interpreted as the star and the crescent that was used in the ancient world. These laurel leaves symbols are very much in sympathy with that. This, of course, is the United Nations with the world as a target, very appropriate, and that is the symbol of the Windsors, the royal family, the Windsors royal family. That's, of course, an American great what do you call it? There's the flying disc, again, a Saturn symbol. You see that on many cars and in many areas of the corporate world. And of course, in that Saturnesque presentation, you had exactly that used in the Madonna stage show. Now this is why Satanists worship the goat. In one form, the goat god Pan. This is Manly P. Hall, Secret Teachings of All Ages, who is one of the major Freemasonic historians over the years. He said Pan was a composite creature. The upper part with the exception of his horns being human and the lower part in the form of a goat. The god himself is a symbol of Saturn because this planet is enthroned in Capricorn, whose emblem is a goat. And that is where that comes from, Baphomet, one of the most famous of satanic worshipping symbols. And you see them on this ring is Baphomet on Beyonce. She's dressed, Lady Gaga, as Baphomet. And there is Baroness Philippine de Rothschild with Baphomet massively round her neck. I am staggered, I don't believe it. The owl is Saturn, the owl of Bohemian Grove. Apis or Apis, the Egyptian Saturn god, the bull god, the god of Saturn. And that's where you get the golden calf and all that stuff. And again, you've got the money system symbolized as the bull as well. Now, I said earlier that numbers are just digital expressions of frequency waveform information fields. This is called the magic square of Saturn, and it's also the magic square of Freemasonry, of course. And why it's magic is whatever way you go and you add those numbers up, they come to 15, no matter which way you go. Now, in numerology, you add the numbers until you get a single number. So 15 in numerology is 666, 666, and that represents the energy frequency of Saturn, which I'll come to. Now, this is the sigil of Saturn, and they get it by drawing between the squares of the magic square from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. And that's how they get that. Now, if you turn that up on its side, you get that, which is what that is. The most obvious symbol of Freemasonry, because they're worshipping Saturn, which is an expression of this archontic fake reality. That is the symbol of Balmoral, the Scottish home of the royal family. Exactly the same, the sigil of Saturn. This is an ancient symbol of Saturn, the six-pointed star, the Star of David. It's not, they just hijacked that. It's a symbol of Saturn going way, way back. And this is where the name Rothschild came from. They had a red version of the six-pointed star on their house in Frankfurt, where the Rothschild dynasty came out of. And in German, red shield is Rothschild. The very name Rothschild comes from a symbol of Saturn.